The Phantom Fleet. The starship Odysseus drifted silently through the asteroid field, its engines barely humming as Captain Mira Reeves stood on the bridge, her dark eyes fixed on the main view screen. The ship was a sleek exploration vessel, Earth's pride in this distant sector of space, with its crew of 30 specialists trained to investigate anomalies and make first contact with new civilizations. Sensor sweep complete, Captain. Lieutenant Voss reported from his station, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The readings are unusual. Mira turned, one eyebrow raised. Define unusual, Lieutenant. Voss looked up, his face illuminated by the blue glow of his console. There's something massive behind that cluster of asteroids. Multiple objects, actually. They're not registering as natural formations. Ships? Mira asked, moving to his station. I believe so. But they're not transmitting any recognizable signals, and their power signatures are minimal, almost dormant. Dr. Elena Santos, the ship's xenobiologist, approached from her station. A graveyard, perhaps. Abandoned vessels. Mira considered this for a moment, then nodded decisively. Let's find out. Helm, take us closer. Slowly. As the Odysseus maneuvered through the asteroid field, the massive structures came into view. The bridge crew fell silent as the main screen revealed what looked like a fleet of ships, enormous vessels with elegant curved hulls that seemed to absorb rather than reflect the light from nearby stars. There were dozens of them, clustered together in a formation that somehow felt intentional rather than random. My God, whispered Commander Jackson, the first officer. I count at least 30 vessels. Some of them are bigger than Earth's largest battleships. Any signs of life? Mira asked. None, Voss replied. But the materials, they're unlike anything in our database. The hulls appear to be composed of a metallic organic composite. Dr. Santos was already running analysis programs on her tablet. These designs don't match any known spacefaring species. They're not Arcturian, not Meridian, definitely not Vorax. Speaking of the Vorax, Jackson said, we're in contested space, if they find us examining unknown technology. Mira nodded, well aware of the territorial alien species whose mining operations had expanded aggressively in recent years. We'll be quick, but I'm not passing up the opportunity to examine ships of this caliber. Before she could issue further orders, Lieutenant Voss straightened in his chair. Captain, we're receiving a transmission. It's on an old frequency. Vorax diplomatic channel. On screen, Mira ordered, squaring her shoulders. The view screen shifted to show a Vorax commander, his scaled skin a mottled purple-gray, 4 eyes blinking independently as he assessed the humans. Human vessel, the Vorax said, his translator rendering his clicks and hisses into staccato English. You have entered prohibited space. The derelicts you observe are dangerous. They are death-bringers. Mira stepped forward. This is Captain Mira Reeves of the Earth exploration vessel Odysseus. We're conducting peaceful research. These vessels appear abandoned. We mean no harm. The Vorax commander's scales darkened. Those ships brought devastation to 15 Vorax worlds 3 centuries ago. They are cursed. They are weapons. Leave immediately, or we will consider your presence an act of aggression. The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the bridge in silence. Well, Mira said after a moment, that was informative. Jackson frowned. They seemed genuinely afraid, Captain. Or they're hiding something, Dr. Santos suggested. The Vorax aren't exactly known for their honesty. Mira tapped her fingers against her thigh, thinking, if these ships destroyed 15 planets, why are they just sitting here? And why would the Vorax leave such dangerous weapons intact? Perhaps they can't destroy them, Voss suggested. Mira made her decision. Prep a shuttle. I want a closer look at these death-bringers. Jackson, you have the bridge. Dr. Santos, Lieutenant Voss, you're with me. And let's bring Chief Engineer Park. If these things are dangerous, I want to know how to shut them down. 30 minutes later, their shuttle approached the nearest of the alien vessels. Up close, its hull seemed to shimmer with a faint iridescence, patterns flowing across its surface like currents in water. "It's beautiful," Dr. Santos whispered as they circled what appeared to be a docking bay. Chief Park, a compact woman with efficient movements, studied her readings. "There's atmosphere inside. Thin, but breathable. And I'm detecting very low-level power signatures. These ships aren't completely dead." "Can we dock?" Mira asked. Park nodded. "That opening looks compatible with our shuttle's airlock." The docking was smoother than expected, as if the alien ship had somehow accommodated their approach. The team donned lightweight environmental suits as a precaution and entered the vessel through the airlock. Inside, soft blue light illuminated their path, growing brighter as they moved deeper into the ship. "It's responding to our presence," Voss said, checking his scanner. "Power levels are increasing slightly." The corridors were wide and curved, without the angular efficiency of human or Vorax design. Symbols etched into the walls pulsed gently with light as they passed. "This doesn't feel like a warship," Dr. Santos observed, running her gloved hand along one wall. There are no obvious weapon emplacements, no armored bulkheads. They reached what appeared to be a central chamber, a vast, cathedral-like space filled with transparent pods containing soil samples, seedlings, and what looked like water purification systems. "This isn't a weapons platform," Dr. Santos said, excitement building in her voice. "It's a terraforming ship. These are biological samples, preservation chambers." Why would the Vorax call terraforming ships deathbringers? Mira wondered aloud. Chief Park had moved to what looked like a control panel. "Captain, I think I can access the ship's logs if..." She was interrupted by a sudden vibration that ran through the ship. The lights brightened dramatically, and the symbols on the walls began to pulse in complex patterns. "What did you do?" Mira asked sharply. "Nothing," Park insisted. "It's activating on its own." Lieutenant Voss's communicator chirped urgently. "Captain," Jackson's voice came through, tense and hurried. "We've got a problem. The entire fleet is powering up, and we're detecting multiple Vorax warships on an intercept course. They're charging weapons." On the bridge of the Odysseus, Commander Jackson watched in alarm as 5 Vorax battlecruisers dropped out of faster-than-light travel, their weapon ports glowing ominously. "Shields up," he ordered. "Charge defensive systems, but do not target the Vorax vessels." The communications officer called out. "They're hailing us, sir." The view screen showed the same Vorax commander, now flanked by military officers. "You were warned, humans. You have awakened the Deathbringers. Now you will share their fate." "We've done nothing hostile," Jackson insisted. "Our team is simply exploring." "Your exploration has reactivated the enemy of all Vorax," the commander snarled. "You have 10 of your minutes to recall your team and leave this sector, or we will open fire." As the transmission ended, the sensor officer called out, "Sir, the alien fleet, it's moving." Jackson stared in disbelief as the massive ghost ships began to shift position, their dormant engines glowing with renewed power. They moved with surprising grace, forming a protective formation around the Odysseus. "Get the captain back here now," Jackson ordered, "and hope these ancient ships are on our side." Back on the alien vessel, Mira and her team felt the ship rumble to life beneath their feet. "We need to get back to the shuttle," she ordered. "Now." But as they turned to leave, the doorway sealed shut. On the walls, the symbols pulsed more rapidly, as if trying to communicate. Dr. Santos studied them intently. "Captain, I think the ship is trying to talk to us." At the control panel, Chief Park gasped as a holographic display suddenly materialized, showing the Vorax ships surrounding them and the Odysseus caught in the middle. "It's showing us what's happening outside," she said. "And look, these must be weapon systems, but they're not targeting the Vorax ships directly." Mira stared at the display, a realization dawning. These aren't warships at all, but the Vorax are about to attack them. And us, anyway. The walls around them pulsed once more, and a crystal console rose from the center of the chamber, glowing with soft blue light. I think, Dr. Santos said slowly, it wants us to make a choice. Guardians of life. The crystal console pulsed with gentle blue light, casting ethereal shadows across the faces of Captain Mira Reeves and her team. Time seemed suspended as they stared at the alien technology, aware that outside, Vorax warships were preparing to attack. What choice is it offering us? Lieutenant Voss asked, his scanner failing to decode the symbols flowing across the chamber walls. Dr. Elena Santos stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming caution. I think it wants to know if we're allies or enemies. And how exactly do we communicate that? Chief Park asked. Mira studied the console, noticing how the lights seemed to respond to their movements, brightening when she moved closer. Making a decision, she removed her glove and placed her palm on the crystal surface. Immediately, images flooded her mind, planets teeming with life, then the same world stripped bare, industrial complexes covering entire continents. She saw massive ships, the very fleet they had discovered, approaching these ravaged worlds, releasing something into their atmospheres. Within moments, green began to spread across the barren landscapes, waters cleared, and life returned. Then came scenes of conflict. Vorax ships attacking the terraforming fleet, trying to halt its restorative work. The fleet defending itself, not with destructive weapons, but with systems designed to neutralize the attacker's technology without harming the Vorax themselves. When Mira pulled her hand away, gasping, the others looked at her with concern. Captain. Dr. Santos touched her shoulder. They're healers, Mira said, her voice filled with wonder. These ships were created to restore worlds destroyed by industrial exploitation. The Vorax, they were strip mining entire planets. These ships stopped them. That's why they call them Deathbringers, Voss realized. They brought death to the Vorax's profit margins. A new vibration ran through the ship, more urgent now. The holographic display showed the Vorax vessels opening fire, their energy weapons striking the shields of both the ancient fleet and the Odysseus. Captain. Jackson's voice came through the communicator. Our shields won't hold for long. Whatever you're doing in there, hurry. The ship is asking us what we want to do, Mira told her team. It's giving us control. Dr. Santos' eyes widened. It's testing us, seeing if we're like the Vorax or if we're worthy allies, Mira finished. She placed her hand back on the crystal, projecting thoughts of defense without destruction, protection without retaliation. The ship responded immediately. The chamber filled with golden light, and the holographic display showed the ancient vessels moving with coordinated grace, positioning themselves to protect the Odysseus, while emitting pulses of energy that disabled the Vorax weapons without damaging their ships. It's remarkable, Chief Park breathed, watching the display. Precision technological neutralization. They could destroy the Vorax fleet in seconds, but they're just disarming them. On the Odysseus's bridge, Commander Jackson stared in amazement as the ancient ships danced around the Vorax vessels, rendering them harmless without causing casualties. The Vorax are hailing us again, the communications officer reported. The view screen showed the Vorax commander, his scales now pale with fear. What have you done, humans? You have allied yourselves with the destroyers of worlds. You're wrong, Jackson replied firmly. These ships aren't destroyers, they are restorers, and they've chosen not to harm you, despite your attack. Back on the alien vessel, the door that had sealed shut now reopened, allowing Mira and her team to return to their shuttle. As they prepared to depart, Dr. Santos noticed something remarkable. Small green shoots emerging from what had appeared to be decorative patterns on the walls. It's alive, she whispered. The ship itself is partially organic. It's not just carrying life, it is life. When they returned to the Odysseus, Mira immediately went to the bridge, where a standoff continued with the now powerless Vorax fleet. "Open a channel to the Vorax commander," she ordered. When the scaled face appeared on screen, Mira spoke with quiet authority. "We've learned the truth about these ships and about what your people have been doing to habitable worlds across this sector." "You understand nothing, human," the commander hissed. "I understand that your mining operations have destroyed 15 planets' ecosystems," Mira countered. "And that these ships, which you call Death Bringers, were created to reverse that damage." The commander's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. "Resources must be harvested. Profit must be generated. The Vorax Extraction Guild requires." "There are sustainable ways to mine," Mira interrupted. "Ways that don't leave planets uninhabitable." During the following hours, a tense negotiation unfolded. Dr. Santos and Chief Park worked with the alien ship's interface, retrieving data about the ancient fleet's creators, a species called the Nurturers, who had apparently seeded life across the galaxy before disappearing millennia ago, leaving behind their automated terraforming fleet to maintain their legacy. The ships themselves possessed a form of collective consciousness, dormant until awakened by the humans' arrival. They had recognized in humans a potential ally, a species that, despite its flaws, valued life and understood the importance of ecological balance. 3 days later, representatives from the Vorax Central Authority arrived, having been informed of the standoff. Unlike the military commander, these diplomats were willing to listen when presented with evidence of the ecological devastation their mining practices had caused, and more importantly, with proof that the ancient fleet could help restore these worlds while still allowing for resource extraction, albeit at a more sustainable pace. The Nurturers built these ships to preserve life, Mira explained to the assembled diplomats in the Odysseus' conference room, not to wage war. They're offering to help restore the damage done to your mining worlds, making them habitable again, while still allowing for carefully managed resource collection. The Vorax delegation whispered among themselves, their scales shifting through patterns of color that Dr. Santos had learned indicated intense debate. Finally, the lead diplomat spoke. "For 3 centuries, we have feared these vessels, believing them harbingers of economic ruin. If what you say is true, if they can restore our depleted worlds while still allowing for necessary resource extraction, perhaps we have been mistaken." It was as close to an admission of error as any human had ever heard from a Vorax. 1 month later, the first joint human-Vorax mission, accompanied by one of the Nurturer vessels, approached a depleted mining world on the edge of Vorax space. The planet's surface was a wasteland of strip mines and toxic processing facilities, its atmosphere barely breathable. From the observation deck of the human diplomatic vessel, Captain Mira Reeves watched as the ancient ship deployed its restoration systems, clouds of specialized microorganisms that broke down pollutants, seed pods that grew with impossible speed, and atmospheric processors that cleared the toxic air. Beside her stood the Vorax diplomat who had led the negotiations, his scales now a contemplative blue-green. "When the sun rises on this world tomorrow," he said, using a human metaphor he had recently learned, "it will shine on something new. Not the world that was, that is lost to time, but perhaps something better. A balance between what you humans call progress and what the Nurturers valued as preservation." Mira nodded, watching as the first patches of green began to appear on the planet below. "That's all any of us can hope for. A new dawn, a better balance." The ancient ship pulsed with light, as if in agreement. Its mission finally resumed after centuries of dormancy. And aboard the human vessel, scientists were already learning from its technology, preparing to create Earth's first true terraforming capabilities. When humans had first encountered the ghostly fleet, they had seen what they expected to see: weapons, threats, danger. The Vorax had seen destroyers, bringers of economic death. But with the rising of a new sun, both species were beginning to see the truth, that creation and destruction were 2 sides of the same coin, and that the difference lay in the choices made by those with the power to shape worlds. As the green spread across the planet below, Mira smiled. Sometimes, the most powerful force in the universe wasn't destruction at all. It was life itself, persistent and unyielding, waiting only for the right conditions to flourish once more. And sometimes, it took humans, curious, compassionate, and determined, to help the universe remember that.